Okay, thank you so much. I have just heard that there was no sound. Many apologies. So I'm going to just start all over again. Thanks for flagging that in the comments. So, first of all, my name is Nicola Brown, and welcome to this Q&A session about upcycling garments in the dirty pot. I am happy to answer any of your questions following on from the free training which I delivered at the beginning of the week. And I'm also happy to answer any questions about the course, which is open for registration and closes tonight. And I have something beautiful to show you, which is going to be an extra special thing. It's going to be a bonus for anybody who actually does register for that course. So maybe you might drop me a comment and let me know where you are tuning in from. I set this particular live stream up because I was hoping that people maybe in Australia or New Zealand would get the opportunity to ask questions if they wanted to. It's a little bit difficult when you live in Ireland and a different time zone to accommodate everybody. So if you do have a question, I'm working by myself today. My trusty sidekick, Shauna, is not moderating comments. So if you have a question, please put 3 question marks in front and behind. That way I can pick it up very, very much easier in the comments. And I will be sort of looking sideways, so excuse me if I look like I'm my eyes are going all over the place, but I have to keep checking the comments. So welcome UK, fantastic to have you here, and thank you for noting the fact that I hadn't got my sound on for some reason. Anyway, I would just like to recap very briefly what we did earlier in the week and about upcycling clothing in the dirty pot. I am really, really interested in the circular economy and in creating beautiful pieces. Obviously, that's what I want to do and to share with everybody, but not creating more waste, trying to reduce waste, reuse, recycle, and to work in an environmentally mindful and health conscious way. And honestly, eco-printing without traditional powdered mordants ticks all those boxes for me, because I can work with upcycled equipment, and that would be that would include things like my big pots, and it would include the pipes that I use to wrap my textiles up on, and the different metals actually affect the outcome of the pieces that we print, and therefore make it very exciting when you start to get to know about how the different metals react. But as a total beginner or somebody moving over from working with powdered mordants, my top pick for a pot to use is actually aluminium or aluminum, if you happen to be tuning in from further west than us here. So that is a pot that will give consistently good results. Cast iron is wonderful. Copper is interesting, but it gives less opportunity to create lasting and color fast prints. And then pots that are considered to be non-reactive, such as glass and aluminium, or glass and enamel, apologies, a little bit tired, glass and enamel. They are not going to be your friend if you want to work without powdered mordants. It doesn't mean that for certain vegetation, such as eucalyptus, that you can't use them, but really we're looking for a reaction with the pot metal and what we put in it to help achieve prints that are totally color fast and washable. I put all my own eco prints, whether it's something like this, I'm wearing a silk top here that I printed the other day. This is a top that I made from vintage Japanese kimono silk, and I wore it as a creamy white top for quite a while, and it was starting to look a little bit grubby. There were no stains, but it just didn't look so fresh. So I printed this using leaves from Cornus alba. Let me move the camera down a little bit. Cornus alba siberica from my garden, that would be dogwood. And this has already been through my washing machine a few times. I've had great wear out of it already. And I see an excellent question has come in from Leslie. And Leslie is asking, when you're eco printing, can you use wet leaves or do they need to be dry? So really excellent question, Leslie. You can use both, but you do not want your leaves to be sopping wet or dripping with liquid, if that makes sense. So if you are going to eco print, with the particular top I'm wearing here now, I just went out and I picked the leaves fresh from my garden. So they were soft, they were new growth. On the same day, we had had a lot of rain recently. So if I had wanted to print with eucalyptus leaves or bark, I would just have picked up my windfall leaves and they would have been damp, but not soaking wet and beautifully pliable to work with. If they are too wet, what will happen is the color will just bleed out and you won't get crisp and sharp prints. So all you need to do in that case is just get a towel and dab them until they are not dry, but just so that there isn't liquid sort of leaching into your fabric. And then if you have very dry leaves and you have saved the leaves, maybe over the winter, or you found some beautiful leaves somewhere and you brought them home with you when you were out walking, they can be soaked, excuse me, in water to rehydrate them, and then you can use them as well. But you would dab them with a towel so they're not sopping wet. That's a really good question. And so following on from that, Leslie is saying it's autumn in Melbourne and she was raking up leaves and they were gorgeous reds, orange and purple. So she's wondering, and I'm assuming Leslie is female, but maybe Leslie is male. So apologies if I have the wrong sex there. So Leslie is wondering, do they need to be left for a day or two to dry out a bit? No, just put them on a towel, give them a little dab. They need to be soft and flexible to make the best contact with your fabric so you can go home and use them immediately. I do have a PDF file that I offer people as a a download for people who are interested in joining my newsletter. And I do have a PDF file that if you would like that, in the video description on YouTube, if you look in it, there will be a link to my newsletter. If you want to register for the newsletter, if you're not already on it, Leslie, register for the newsletter, send me an email and just say you would like that PDF file and I will send it to you. So the pots we use are important, but it's also very important to say that when we are working in a health conscious and environmentally mindful way without traditional powdered mordants, we do not get the same colors always as people who work with mordants do. And also we get more complex background colors, but there is a lot of vegetation that we can't use. And what I like doing in any course that I offer or with my wet felt, the Eco Print and Wet Felt Club, I provide lists of vegetation that I have found works very successfully in different parts of the world, because we all have access to different things. So those of you who are living in Australia, you're very lucky. You have Casuarina, which I absolutely love. That's got a long needle. It looks a little bit like a pine tree, but it's not. That gives most fantastic eco prints in the dirty pot. It particularly loves having a soak in homemade rust water before you use it, and you get these wonderful graphic lines. And there are other plants in different parts of the world that work brilliantly. So I share all of those in the course that is for sale at the moment. And it's just, for example, Japanese maple leaves don't work for me here in Southern Ireland, but they do work in my friend's property up about 2 hours drive away, 1.5 hours drive away. So the soil, the location, the growing conditions, things can change. But the leaves that I share to students, they are ones that I have found give consistent prints regardless of where in the world I have used them. And there also are some suggestions for hotter climates and, very different climates than Ireland from students who have had successful results. And I trust their judgment, and I've seen the results. So don't forget, if you have a question, please just drop it in as a comment now. I am by myself, so this is your opportunity to ask questions, and I will just keep an eye on that. So 3 question marks in front, 3 behind. So we've got the pot. The fabric is really important. I like using natural fabric, and that is what is going to give you the absolute best result. And as a beginner, working without mordants, protein-based fabrics work the best. They are the easiest to print. So they would include wool, silk, mohair, cashmere, anything that comes from an animal, really, if you think of it like that. That will give you good results. Now, you can also successfully print things like linen, cotton, HEMP. I'm not mentioning that word because I might get flagged on YouTube, but HEMP is wonderful to print on. And then there are also other fabrics, man-made, but they are considered to be cellulose-based. They would be things like rayon, which I personally don't like as a fabric, rayon, viscose, lyocell, tencel, all those sorts of things. That is, my recommendation is to print something that is either a single fabric, so it's not a blended fabric, or if it is a blended fabric, it's a blended either protein-based fabric, such as a wool and silk blend, or it's a blended cellulose fabric, such as cotton and linen. When you actually print a blend of protein and cellulose, such as wool and linen, you do not get the same results because both of them need subtly different treatment to get good results. So that's just something to bear in mind. And okay, so Leslie has a question here, and it's about rust water. And rust water is what I like to use when I am eco-printing in the dirty pot on my cellulose-based fabric. And I make it by putting either water and vinegar in a pot, in a cast iron pot, or if I'm teaching at a workshop, I'll just get an aluminium pot, put some big chunks of rusty metal, such as a couple of horseshoes in, some vinegar, and bring it to a boil. And Leslie is saying that she's got some rust water that's about 5 years old. And is it too old to use? Well, I would say that I would just start again, Leslie. I'm not saying it is too old to use, but I would suggest that you just start again, because you just never know what sort of bacteria or anything might be in that. And from the health perspective, it won't take you long to make new rust water, so I would just recommend that you do that. However, I have a whole load of pots around my property, and I happily dunk my pieces in, some of the pots, the rust water is there for a year or so, but I'm using them regularly. And if I wasn't happy with how they were looking, I would just start again. Now, there is a question here about plants from New Zealand. So I do have a good friend works in New Zealand. And when you're talking about lovely colors, I can't share here plants from New Zealand off the top of my head that give good prints. But I do have a really good friend who's in my Eco Print and Wet Felt Club. She's visited me here in Ireland on several occasions. And she gets lovely prints from some of the New Zealand natives in the dirty pot, but they are not very colorful prints. So that is something to be aware. Many plants that do print that I have seen her using that are not plants I have used myself, they are giving crisp prints that are very beautiful, but they're more in the darker blacky purple range. So I don't personally know any very bright plants from New Zealand. And I see your name is Sylvia. Thank you for asking the question, Sylvia. In relation to preparing your fabric and washing it after the eco printing, I love to use a gentle soap, and I just make up an olive oil soap solution. But I'm going to flash up the sales page for the course just to show you what's covered in the course, because then I want to share the exciting thing. I have something to show you that's going to be an extra bonus for anybody who joins. And all your questions, really, let me just flash this up first. Hang on. Oh my goodness me, my brain. Here we go. Okay, so this course that I'm offering, you're going to get the answers to so many of the questions that you're actually asking. Now, the price is in US dollars, but it's a one-time payment. And for as long as I'm teaching online using Kajabi, as long as this product is available, you will have lifetime access to it. And I can tell you, I have no intention of retiring. I'll be doing this until I die. So it's a one-time payment, and you do get lifetime access for the life of the course. And included for this is comprehensive step-by-step eco-printing in the dirty pot information. And that is broken down into a combination of text, images, but primarily step-by-step videos. So you will see me working in my studio and printing garments from start to finish. And each garment, it's broken down into, you know, the different videos. So there will be the rolling of the garment. So you'll see how I roll the garments and wrap it with the vegetation. Then there will be opening the garments after they have been processed. Then there will be the garments after they have been washed and finished and ironed, and discussing how they have, you know, how I have achieved the color or the prints or where the time marks are, etc., etc. So step-by-step video tutorials, and everything takes you very calmly through all the essentials necessary to achieve successful results, even if you are a total beginner. Because there is so much information on the internet. And the internet is a fantastic resource. You could find all the information you need, but you possibly do not have all the hours you need to actually do it. You need days and weeks. When I'm researching things to improve the teaching that I do, it takes days and weeks to actually research things. And what I share and offer with people who join a course with me is I offer them a fast track to success. I believe it's really important to have good results early on, or if you have had bad results and you've learned from someone else, which does happen, somebody who may not understand that not every vegetation gives prints that you can wash and that are color fast. Because there's no point creating beautiful garments and then in about 3 weeks' time, they turn brown or you wash them and the colors wash out. I only share information that I know has given me and many students internationally success time after time. So as a new eco printer, you can be confident that if you follow what I share in this course, you will be able to have fantastic results yourself. So there are helpful checklists and resources to download. There's a private alumni group. And one of the real beauties of this specific course is I have designed it so that it will not overwhelm anybody. So what actually happens is if you decide to join me for the course, once you register and you pay, you get all the information is drip fed over the first 8 days. And so each day there is a separate module. And so from all about the garments, the fabric, the supplies, the materials, the vegetation, the process, the finishing, etc., etc. It's broken down into manageable chunks because many people think that eco printing needs to be done on, everything needs to be done on one day. And that is not true. You could batch prepare all your fabric, and then months later, you could then go to the next stage of eco printing it. And then another week or two later, you could go to the stage of actually finishing it. So you do not have to do everything in one go. And that is something that I'm very clear about. So maybe like me, you are caring for family relatives or partners or something. I actually am helping care for my mum and another family member part-time. So I cannot always do everything in one day. So I share how you can break it down into manageable chunks. And then on day 8, you will have access to all that core information. And I then invite you to join my alumni group where you can ask questions, upload images of your own work, get feedback, etc., etc. So you'll be part of a tight-knit community of people who have studied with me since December last year. Okay, so I'm seeing here Ishka has a question. Have you tried using lichens? In New Zealand, there should be good lichens for bright colors. And the simple answer is yes, I have tried multiple times, and no, they will not give you good results working without mordants. I've had like an awful mess on many occasions, and that is not to say that there isn't one lichen here in Ireland that does give good results, but it's a friend of mine who is a very, very well-known weaver and natural dyer, and he teaches that. He brought some lichen to me on one occasion that gave amazing orange prints that lasted the test of time, but every other one has just given me a smelly mess. And it's also something I am very careful about. In certain areas, you shouldn't be gathering the lichens, so I would get them from the ground if they've fallen off the tree, if that's where they're growing. So it's just something to be aware of. Now, I'm just going to throw it out there. If you have a question, now is the time to ask. Just drop 3 question marks in front and 3 behind in the comments so I can see them easily. But while you are thinking, have you got another question? I am going to share about this bonus. So for anybody who joins the course before the deadline of 11:59 Pacific Daylight Time this evening, so that would be just before 12 p.m. on the west coast of America. For anybody who joins before that, I am going to create another little course. It's going to be a bonus. Now, I will be giving this also. I will be making this available to people in my club, but it's going to be a standalone little course because I have found that many people really get stressed about the possibility of eco-printing fabric that potentially could be difficult. And this is the most amazing floor length silk dress. I hope you can see it fairly clearly there, with beading at the top. And I suspect this was it's silk. I suspect it was either a wedding dress or a bridesmaid's dress. And I found this in a charity shop, an op shop, the other day. And I nearly got sick with excitement when I saw it. Of course, I snapped it up. And then I came home and discovered to my utter joy that it fits me as if it was made for me. And I'm tall, it's totally floor length. It's got these floaty bits at the front that as you walk, they move. It's silk and it's got beading and it's got sequins, but it's not too girly. So I'm going to document myself eco-printing that from start to finish. And I'm going to make that into a small standalone course that I can offer to different people who study with me. And I'm going to give that as a bonus to people who join the current course, this Upcycle Your Clothing in the Dirty Pot course. So that will be a bonus, but it won't be available for 4 or 5 weeks. And I am also going to make another small little bit of information available about folding garments. I'm getting a lot of questions coming, not just from the workshop the other day, but people are anxious about folding garments with, you know, sleeves, etc. So I'll just make another little video just discussing some of those options, just to explain how I choose how to fold my garment. So again, you will have access to that. Now, I see a question here from Lynn, and Lynn is asking, how many hours is that? So Lynn, I'm not sure what you mean. How many hours of content is in the workshop that I'm offering, or how many hours it would take to process a silk dress? So you're going to need to be more specific with that question, please. I don't have Shauna helping me today, so normally she kind of cues them up and gives me more context. So just drop another comment. But if you are wondering about the eco printing course, there are many. The videos are broken down into shorter clips. Videos are maybe what's the word? Yeah, sorry, I'm a little bit tired. The videos in the course are broken down into manageable chunks. So they could be 5 minutes, they might be 7, they might be 3 minutes. And so it's very, very easy just to look at one specific stage of the eco printing process rather than the whole thing from start to finish. So that makes it easy for you to go back and work out what is happening. And okay, so here we go. Lynn is wondering, when is the registration closing for the course? So the registration, I will drop it in as a comment. I'm not sure if I'm able to do a comment. Yes, so it is 11:59 p.m. PDT. I'm just going to write this. Excuse me one second. Which is the west coast of America? And 7 a.m. in Ireland. Okay, so I've dropped it in as a comment. I'm going to see if I can, yeah, there we go. I've flashed it up on the screen. So I believe it is 7 a.m. in Ireland, but it might be 5 a.m. I could be incorrect about that, but the specific time is 11:59 Pacific Daylight Time, which is on the west coast of America. And if any of you would like to have a look, if you're on Instagram, I'm going to just put another thing up here. So if you would actually like to have a look at that dress, I posted a few reels up on Instagram showing the dress in all its glory. So you will see how beautiful it is. And then you will see whether you might be interested in that little mini course as a bonus for joining the main course, because working with lace and with beads and with sequins and expensive materials like this dress would have cost hundreds when it was, you know, obviously bought. It's a good make and in fantastic condition. So if you're interested in something like that, I advise you just to look on my Instagram account and you will actually see a few reels from the last few days of that dress. Okay, so I think that is really pretty much everything. I think I have answered questions. If you are interested in the course, there will be a link in this video description. There it is again. There will be a link in the video description for the course so you can see all the information. Thank you so much for your time. I don't see any more comments, so I appreciate you joining in the evening or the morning. Oh, actually, there might be one more question. Carol, I did answer this at the beginning, but if your leaves are very dry, yes, you need to make sure that they are flexible. But if the leaves come actually from a soft plant rather than a tough leaf like an oak leaf, I wouldn't soak them overnight. Let's just say you had some rose leaves. I tend not to store soft vegetation like that, but if I had some dried rose leaves, I would just put them in warm water about 5 or 10 minutes before I was going to use them. And then I would dab them dry with a towel because I would want them to be soft and flexible, but not, you don't want all that color and the dye in them to leach out. So no, I wouldn't soak them overnight, but I would soak oak leaves or eucalyptus leaves overnight. Okay, thank you all so much for your attention. I hope your questions have been answered, and I look forward to welcoming some of you to the course, and others I will be, continuing to engage here on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you all so much. Over and out from Clashin.